A few years ago, I knew a man who believed being a good person would protect him. He was the kind of person everyone trusted. If someone needed help, he showed up. If someone made a mistake, he forgave them. If someone disappointed him, he gave them another chance. He believed that if he treated people with kindness, life would eventually reward him with the same kindness in return. For a while, it seemed to work. People praised him, relied on him, and constantly reminded him how much they appreciated him. Then reality arrived. A business partner lied to him. A close friend disappeared when he needed support the most. Someone he trusted used his generosity against him. One by one, the people he sacrificed for revealed something he never wanted to believe. They valued his usefulness far more than they valued him. The same people who gladly accepted his help were nowhere to be found when he needed theirs. Months later, I met him again. He looked different. Not older, not stronger, just different. The constant need to please everyone had vanished. The guilt he used to carry was gone. After a long conversation, he said something that stayed with me for years. He said, "The world didn't break me because it was cruel. The world broke me because I was naive." That sentence contains a truth most people spend their entire lives running from. The world is not designed to protect you. It is designed to test you. Every betrayal tests your boundaries. Every setback tests your resilience. Every disappointment tests whether your confidence comes from within or from the approval of others. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. He knew that kindness without strength becomes weakness. Loyalty without caution becomes vulnerability. And trust without judgment becomes a weapon others can use against you. The uncomfortable truth is that the world will eventually find your weakest point and apply pressure to it. Not because life hates you, but because reality exposes whatever has not been strengthened. Most people never recover from these lessons. They become bitter, fearful, or cynical. But a small number of people choose a different path. They stop expecting the world to be fair and start learning how the world actually works. They develop boundaries. They become harder to manipulate. They stop confusing weakness with virtue. And most importantly, they understand that there are moments in life when being kind is not enough. There are moments when survival requires something more. Because sooner or later, the world tries to break everyone. The only question is whether you remain the same person when it happens. One of the biggest lies ever told is that hard work alone guarantees success. People are taught from childhood that if they stay honest, work hard, and keep their heads down, everything will eventually work out. It sounds comforting. It sounds fair. The problem is that reality doesn't operate according to what sounds fair. Reality operates according to power. Not the kind of power most people imagine. Not money, not status, not influence. The power to control yourself when everyone else is losing control. The power to see people clearly instead of seeing them the way you wish they were. The power to make difficult decisions without being held hostage by emotions. Most people never develop that power because they spend their lives avoiding discomfort. They avoid difficult conversations. They avoid confrontation. They avoid saying no. They avoid disappointing others. At first, these decisions seem harmless, but over time, every avoided confrontation becomes a surrendered piece of your life. Every boundary you fail to defend becomes an invitation for someone else to cross it. Every moment you choose comfort over courage quietly teaches people how much of your respect they can take from you. The tragedy is that many people don't notice this happening until years have passed. They wake up one day exhausted, resentful, and confused, wondering how their life ended up belonging to everyone except themselves. Machiavelli understood something that remains true centuries later. People reveal their true nature when there is something to gain. As long as circumstances are easy, loyalty appears everywhere. Friendship appears everywhere. Support appears everywhere. But pressure changes people. Ambition changes people. Fear changes people. Suddenly, promises become flexible. Principles become negotiable. Loyalty becomes conditional. This isn't a reason to become paranoid. It is a reason to become aware. Awareness is what separates the person who gets blindsided from the person who sees danger before it arrives. The ruthless person is not someone who enjoys hurting others. The truly ruthless person is someone who refuses to be blind. They pay attention. They notice patterns. They trust actions more than words. They understand that good intentions are meaningless without consistent behavior. Most importantly, they stop expecting people to be something they have repeatedly proven they are not. That lesson alone can save years of disappointment. Because the moment you stop seeing people through the lens of hope and start seeing them through the lens of reality, you become far harder to deceive. And the world becomes a very different place when deception no longer works on you. There comes a moment in every person's life when they discover a painful truth. The people who hurt you the most are rarely your enemies. You expect betrayal from enemies. You prepare for it. You see it coming. The people who leave the deepest scars are often the ones you trusted, the ones you defended, the ones you believed would never turn against you. This realization changes everything because it forces you to confront one of the hardest lessons Machiavelli ever understood. Trust is valuable, but blind trust is dangerous. Most people move through life assuming others think the way they do. Honest people assume honesty in others. Loyal people expect loyalty in return. Kind people naturally believe kindness will be reciprocated. But human beings don't work that way. Everyone acts according to their own interests, fears, desires, and ambitions. Sometimes those interests align with yours. Sometimes they don't. The problem begins when you ignore reality because the truth makes you uncomfortable. You see warning signs but explain them away. You notice inconsistencies but choose optimism over observation. You keep giving chances long after someone has shown you exactly who they are. Then when the betrayal finally arrives, you call it unexpected. In reality, the signs were there all along. You simply didn't want to see them. This is why ruthless people often appear calmer than everyone else. They are not constantly shocked by human behavior because they understand human nature. They know that words are cheap, promises are easy, and appearances can be manufactured. They judge people by patterns, not isolated actions, not emotional speeches. Patterns. Because patterns reveal character. A person who repeatedly lies will lie again. A person who repeatedly takes without giving will continue taking. A person who repeatedly places their interests above everyone else's will do so whenever the opportunity presents itself. Once you understand this, life becomes much simpler. You stop arguing with reality. You stop trying to change people who don't want to change. You stop wasting energy on battles that were lost long before they began. The strongest people are not those who trust nobody. They are the ones who trust wisely. They understand that compassion and caution can exist together. They can care about people without becoming dependent on them. They can love people without becoming blind to their flaws. And because they see reality clearly, they rarely find themselves destroyed by it. The world breaks people who refuse to see what is in front of them. But the moment you accept people as they are, instead of who you wish they were, you gain something incredibly powerful. You gain clarity, and clarity is one of the most ruthless advantages a person can possess. By now, you might think Machiavelli was teaching people how to control others. That is what most people assume when they hear the word ruthless. They imagine manipulation, deception, and power games. But they miss the deeper lesson. The greatest battle is not against other people, it is against yourself. Against the weakness that keeps you silent when you should speak. Against the fear that keeps you frozen when you should act. Against the emotions that cloud your judgment when clarity matters most. Long before anyone else can defeat you, these internal enemies have already begun their work. Look closely at the lives of most people. They are not imprisoned by chains. They are imprisoned by hesitation. They know what they need to do, yet they delay. They know which relationships are draining them, yet they stay. They know which habits are destroying their future, yet they repeat them. Day after day, year after year, they surrender control of their lives not because someone took it from them, but because they never had the courage to claim it. The world doesn't need to break these people. They slowly break themselves. Every ignored opportunity, every avoided decision, every compromise with their own standards becomes another crack in the foundation. Then one day they wake up wondering where all the years went. Machiavelli understood that true power begins when you stop negotiating with your weaknesses. The moment you stop waiting for motivation and start acting regardless of how you feel. The moment you stop making excuses for behaviors that no longer serve you. The moment you stop blaming circumstances and start taking responsibility for everything within your control. That is where transformation happens. Not in a seminar, not in a book, not in a motivational speech. It happens in the quiet moments when nobody is watching and you choose discipline over comfort, reality over fantasy, action over hesitation. The harsh truth is that the world will continue testing you for the rest of your life. There will always be people who underestimate you, obstacles that challenge you, and moments that tempt you to abandon your principles. But those things become far less dangerous once you have conquered the person in the mirror. Because after that, there is very little the world can do to you that you haven't already prepared yourself for. The goal was never to become cruel. The goal was never to become heartless. The goal was to become strong enough that your kindness is a choice, not a weakness. Strong enough that your compassion is controlled by wisdom. Strong enough that the world can no longer break you. And when that day arrives, something remarkable happens. You stop fearing life. Because you finally understand that the most ruthless person you will ever need to master is yourself.